Good afternoon in sunny Pennsylvania. My fire going in the background. Fireside chats. We're going to continue on. Remember, you need coffee to watch these videos. It's the best way. All right. So this is the fourth video in this series. And we're going to talk about today about walking out our ground game with boldness. So let me very briefly, again, the purpose of doing these videos is to become closer to the Lord and walking out our lives, our business lives, personal, spiritual. It all kind of still winds up into one, but we're focusing on the business side here. And the importance of walking with Jesus 24/7 instead of 2 hours on a Sunday. It's a big difference. And it takes choices to get there, and his revelation, his inspiration, etc. So I'm just sharing experiences I've had in my life, and hopefully they'll touch you. And it will also cause you to actually recognize times in your life where the Lord has impacted you that you may not have caught at the moment. I know in this journey that I'm on that He made that very clear to me one day. In fact, I can tell you exactly when the day was. December 5th, 2005, when He made it very clear to me that He's been involved in my life long before I was involved in His, knowingly. So let's roll on here. Walk out your ground game with boldness. One of the big parts of the Lord is faith. Faith comes from, it's actually referenced very strongly in Hebrews 11:1. And that verse says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And the most important word in that whole thing, to be honest with you, I think is the word not. Not seen. Because in that spot, the word not does not mean simply not seen. What it also means is expected. So that verse, Hebrews 11:1, is really a declaration of, do we believe the prophetic words and the revelation that the Lord gives us? Because when He gives us what He gives us, we can take it to the bank. That's awesome, isn't it? So again, Hebrews 11:1, the faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, but coming. All right. So faith is in God personally, and that He will do what He says. Now I'm going to share with you a couple of testimonies in my life in this section. And I went through a period of time when, in my opinion, the Lord wasn't moving fast enough for me. So I was kind of whining about that one day. And He asked me a question. He said, how much faith does it take to do exactly what I tell you? Well, I had to honestly say, none. I'm just following directions. Faith is much more than following a direction. It's belief in the direction, the belief in the source. So I responded saying, none. He says, exactly. He says, step out in boldness. So what he was telling me was, I wasn't moving fast enough in response to him to take the direction I had been pointed and start moving, right? I was like holding back. So I was thankful that he said that. Now, if we look back in history, Abram was probably the first place where we see a reference to God making a command and somebody going. So Abram was told him to leave his comforts. This is in Genesis chapter 12, was to leave his comforts and go west. It's a pretty broad statement, right? Go west. Well, okay. So he did. Now, while he was en route, Abram, and I use it for the name Abram because his name had not been changed to Abraham yet, but it's the same guy. Abram was between Ai on the east and Bethel on the west. In other words, he was on his journey and he stopped. This is in Genesis 12:8. He built an altar and acknowledged God. So while he was on the journey, not knowing exactly where he was going, acknowledged the fact that God had sent him. And he believed in God and believed in his voice. He called on the name of the Lord. What's next, God? That's exactly what we should do. We start journeying, pause. What's next, God? What's next? And there's nothing wrong with asking that often. But he said, what's next, God? And God gave him the direction to keep moving. Along this same line, I had another vision. And this was another day when I was whining as well to the Lord that things weren't moving fast enough. And he took me over a golf course. He showed me a golf course. And he said, can you see where you are? And I could. It was me on the tee. So I saw it. I said, yes, I'm right down there. And then he said, can you see the hole? I said, yes, it's right over there. And he asked me a very important question. He said, how many different ways is there to take to get from where you are to where you're going? Interesting question, right? The answer is infinite. You can go any gazillion directions to get from the tee to the hole. And golfers go in a gazillion different directions to get from the tee to the hole. And I said that. I said, well, infinite. He said, step out in boldness. He gave me the same message twice. So the point is, go where he points. He will be right with you and he'll help you along the way. And this really happens to also be referenced in Proverbs chapter 16, verse 9. And in Proverbs 16, verse 9, it says, man establishes his plan, God directs his steps. So it's a journey. It's cooperative. It's God with us on the journey. But here's an interesting thing. Can you guide a step if you're just sitting there? No. You have to be moving. But we put together a plan and we start moving. And he walks with us and makes alterations in our steps to get to where he wants us to go on the journey he wants us to take. I think that's pretty powerful. So listen to what he says as the Lord directs our steps. We should engage in conversation. You can ask questions to avoid needless wandering. He'll answer you. It may not be at the moment you ask. There's really a good benefit in that. You know, if we ask the Lord a question, we're pretty smart people. We have a mind and we can come up with our own answer. And this happens sometimes. So what I really like is if I ask a question and then 6 hours later he answers the question. Because he'll answer the question the way he wants me to hear it, not the way I dreamed up at the moment I asked the question. It's pretty powerful stuff. The point is, keep looking up regardless of the distractions that are around you, because up is the source of all our answers. I want to go back to the golf course again. And I want to go back to a point I made earlier. I think it was the previous video, when I talked about the clarity to cost ratio. I'm going to walk out with you the next phase of this vision. Now, this wasn't as much a vision as it was a recollection of this, and the Lord gave me some additional points. And here it is. You can imagine yourself on a golf course, right? Take the driver, take your first stroke, the ball ends up someplace, go find it, use whatever iron, get closer, end up just off the green. Okay, now I'm just off the green in this discussion of this journey. And as golfers, what we do is we make a determination that based on where I am and where I'm going, this is what I need to do. So my actual choice was a pitching wedge to get the ball up on the green, two putt, one putt if you're lucky, right? So at the point that I was going to take the pitching wedge, the Lord gave me a different direction. He gave me this 9-iron, short backswing, drop the ball on the hill on the green. And I'm thinking, what? Okay. I mean, I understand. Follow directions, right? I got that one. But I'm looking at this. This is not logical to me. But that's okay. He said do this, so I did. Pick up the 9-iron, take a short, really short backswing, and drop the ball on the hill exactly where he said. I don't have that kind of my fireplace. I don't have that kind of skill to put the ball exactly where I want it. But I did what he said in the vision. Took the short backswing, the ball dropped on the heel exactly where it was supposed to go. And of course, we know what happens next, right? The ball rolls into the cup. His directions are perfect. And when we follow them, he causes the result that he sends you on the journey for. The ball ends up in the hole. Bottom line, listen, step out in boldness. He's right there to give you the instructions. So here I am, right close to the hole, clarity to cost ratio. I was close to the goal, to the hole, I should say, to the hole. He gave me specific instructions, not general instructions. Clarity to cost ratio. If you don't follow the instructions, the clearer the instructions, the greater the cost of not following. We'll leave it at that today. God bless you all. See you in the next segment.